This is the history of the Scene Director mod. The Scene Director mod has been around now for over 2 years. We've had over 24,000 downloads and we just crossed 1,000 subscribers to our YouTube channel. So thank you. And we figured it was about time to go through, well, the whole history of the mod, why it was done, and how it's progressed over time, which is interesting in itself. So this whole mod started because I wanted to make a Machinima movie myself, but the Rockstar editor wasn't really good enough for it. So the first version, which was never released, just basically allowed you to store different actors into a slot. You would use the keyboard combination Alt plus a number. Those will be visible on the mini-maps. You could even use your gun and aiming at somebody, and if you pressed F9 at the same time, it would just control that ped. This was just amazing. For me, this was the first thing I started doing modding. I quickly moved into more controlling cars and vehicles. Basically what you see here is an early unreleased version where we're setting a common waypoint for all these 3 cars. One of them goes totally the wrong direction, and the other one was just, now the scene is basically set to active and they're just racing towards their goal. So this is just one single function, a native function, which is the API we're using for modding, being called, and they're just being said drive to the waypoint and do it aggressively. That's what happened. And there was always chaos when you then went back to the starting location. Cars were jumping about, and yeah, it was really hard to get them settled down. But later in August we got the first major release, which was released on GTA 5 mods, and now you could really start to see the potential. There's things you couldn't do before. This scene here is about, I think, 7 or 8 actors. There's 2 choppers, there's at least 5 cars, and I'm controlling the player here at the moment. So you see, you could get a lot more movement around such a scene with this mod, and something which wasn't possible at the time. You didn't have any task sequence in the menu or anything else. And it really started to feel like, well, you could make something more complicated than you could before. If you had, especially around creating chaos yeah, simple scenes. And I actually wanted to make this video for my friends. We had like an annual Christmas gathering where we typically have something strange from the entertainment perspective. We've done like the Hitler Darunter subtitles, we've done other movie trailers, and I just wanted to do this one. Something with GTA Machinima, and I planned it for the whole year just to make sure of it. But then I started going more and more detail into this mod. Version 1.1 had one of my favorite features, the firing squad. Basically, if you were one actor and had firing squad active, all the other ones would do exactly the same action. So here you're seeing you switching weapon back and forth before they're playing back a scene from the latest Planet of the Apes movie, which I foresee. You can see I definitely had a foresight to see that one coming. Version 1.2 came about not long later, and finally we have a menu. And this menu also worked at a heads-up display, showing you the status right now, which actors have recordings, are you playing, is the scene inactive or set up, or what you're doing. So now it was a huge progress from having to learn 15 different key combinations, which of course had conflicts with other mods, and I liked it. I know there's a lot of things which can be said about the menu system, but it sort of works. It's very complicated and it's hard to learn, but this is a complicated mod, so it's hard to do too much more with it. Version 1.3 came not long afterwards. One of the big new things were walking styles, or thing you could control per actor. I think this is an underused feature. There's too many of the NPCs in Machinima movies. They're walking in the same way, and this is a great feature from GTA to actually have these different walking types. I also added a beautiful feature called the Time-Lapse, which I'm sure some of you Machinima makers have used. It just gives you a nice transition, and you can configure how quickly it goes in the ini file. Yeah, it's just a nice feature. And this course there's the spotlight feature, which unfortunately didn't show up in the Rockstar editor. It had great promise. You would have 5 different types of spot following the actor, either just top down or coming from the north, east, west or south. You had 16 different colors just for the first release, and they would just mix great. And they would create these beautiful shadows, which you can see now towards the side. Yeah, it was such a shame. We tried a lot. I tried really hard to find some way of bringing this into the Rockstar editor, but basically you need to go down into memory access and the code, and yeah, it's not just being recorded in the recording files, so there's not a lot to do with that, unfortunately. At this time I also get a lot of beta testers. I remember Nucky, the 2 Scotsmen, Fixing Good. They were all giving great inputs, and it felt like we're basically testing what's possible with this game. The whole GTA modding community were discovering what's the possibilities, what are these natives driving behind it, and Alexander Blake deserves the highest praise for sort of running this Scriptalk 5 project on getting everything decompiled and getting the scripts and trying to understanding how this actually works. It's just a huge effort on his side, and the whole GTA modding community is just great to be part of. So this showed like the version 2.0, which is really where it started getting serious. Before we walk into waypoints, but right now we are starting to record sort of for each actor what's their situation, perhaps every half a second. And now you're seeing a recording where you're just playing back both the recording on a car and on a helicopter, and you see the playback is the number is constantly increasing, and that's whenever it switches from one recording item to the next, that number is being added. And there's a lot of tweaking that needs to be done with like how you stop a car, like that car just starts burning. This actor is stuck because he doesn't work exactly where I wanted. But this shows the vehicle. So now I'm recording the vehicle. I tweaked the vehicle really a lot. I'm basically recording now every half second, perhaps even more often. So now I'm just demonstrating driving it, and afterwards we'll just see how exact the playback actually is. And there's been a lot of great car chase movies created with the Scene Director mod. The James Bond movie from Domestic Mango, I think, were the first really to show what's possible here. And basically it's you could actually record something and expect it to be quite literally the same. And if you were driving in traffic, you could like redo the scene over and over again, and there will always be something new happening. And you could include other mods, and as long as you can always control one of the actors while you're actually playing back the recording, you can make a very advanced scene already at this stage here. So now we just recorded this scene. I think there's over 100 recording items here being recorded during that period. And now I'm just going to test it. So you go back to the start point, and now I'm not controlling the car at all. 187 recording items. You see, it just hits the jump exactly at the same time, does the same spin, drives on the water here, and it even actually is now trying then to hit between the pair, which I actually didn't think was going to work, but it just works beautiful. It just works beautiful. And now I started to get always the mobs at the level I needed to complete my Machinima movie, where basically a lot of my friends are different actors in that movie. It's you might have seen the Bangarang movie on this channel, the music video. It's basically a different version of that, where there's basically a lot of internal humor and stuff like that being played out. But it was so hard because I started with that Machinima project, but then I get more and more dragged into the mod, creating more and more features, which I didn't need for my video, but I saw that definitely was a need for it. And I think the Machinima community around GTA was really testing the limits, and you would constantly see that somebody was doing something which you really didn't think was possible to do, and luckily people shared the tips on how to actually where they actually able to achieve those videos, because then people would build upon it just afterwards, and it's just amazing content being created. So the last thing, well, actually we're running out of time. I can't continue the whole story of Scene Director, so I'll probably split it into a second part with what happened after version 2.0. So this just shows you the last part of this clip. Basically shows you want to find the actor who has the most complicated actions and control him during the recordings. Now we have 2 cars already being recorded, and we're just gonna spawn a chopper and control that while we're basically recording it at the same time. But we're also gonna play back the other 2 actors. So this is the record scene active. And now as you start them, yeah, now they're teleported back to the start locations, and now the other 2 cars are starting moving, and you're controlling this chopper. And here you have full flexibility to do whatever you can do in the single player game. And here we're just showing how you can then strafe these cars, and with the Rockstar editors you can just fine-tune this shot. You can probably get 2 or 3 good shots out from the first take you do, and then you just teleport back to start locations, continue doing it, and it will always surprise you with something new, because the whole environment around you is changing as well. So it just makes a brilliant experience, and I think people start thinking and getting their artistic vision that there's more they can do now with it. So I think that's it for now. Stay tuned for part 2.